how you would go ahead and like you mentioned sort of like using your black sheep values day to day
Mhm.
intentionally and just again practical manifestation up with those black sheep values. If you could share a little bit of how you intentionally do it on a day to day basis.
Yeah, there are several schools of thought with regards to manifestation. There are some who believe that you can just put things out, put
Hmm.
these vibrations out into the world, and I want my Lamborghini, I want my mansion, I want my and good on them. That is not my approach.
Hmm.
I can't convince myself. It would take me an enormous amount of energy to get me to believe that that works.
Hmm.
Um, I don't believe in a prosperity gospel of any kind like that. What I do believe is in practical manifestation, which to me it means that you're acting with deliberate intention. So rather than discovering these things that are your non-negotiable values and hoping that they have an opportunity to appear somewhere in your life, that is still winging it. So you've got to take control by looking at your calendar every single day and coming up with a plan. So if you looked at my calendar, you would not just see times and appointments and names. You would see my black sheep written into each appointment time as to which ones I am going to manifest during that conversation. So for instance, with something like this, you would look and you'd see your name. It would say Ryan Perez right here, and it would show our appointment time at 8 a.m. this morning. And next to it, you would see words like creativity, hope, and impact. Why? Well, because those are the three things that I want to make sure come across during this interview. I'm not going to leave it to chance or accident. I am going to speak those values into existence. And I've been incredibly deliberate with my language today to make sure that you've experienced those things. I'm not winging it, even though I don't have a script, even though I'm not following something that I've written before this. I am sitting here going, I need to make sure that the words that come out of my mouth are creative, that they inspire hope, and that they have the type of impact that I want them to have, both on you and anybody who's going to listen to this. And so I promise you, when we finish this interview, the last thing you're going to hear out of my mouth is going to be something incredibly hopeful, because I'm being incredibly deliberate with my intention to make sure that that is the case. If I didn't feel like that was possible, if I didn't have the opportunity to speak these things into existence, you and I would not be having this conversation this morning. I would have said no, and I would not have given it a second thought. Because if that was the case, it would have violated one of my values. And when something violates the values, there's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no nothing. It's just, you know what? That's not my thing, and I don't feel bad about it. So, practical manifestation is not just understanding and knowing what these non-negotiable values are. It's you taking the time to honor them every single day. And this is, let me tell you the sort of the an incredible story that will hopefully get you to understand why this is so important. So, I wrote the book. The book it comes out. We have this launch party where before the book comes out, I have a launch group of 40 people that I run through a 5-week group coaching program to get them to discover their black sheep, prove they're real, speak them into existence, everything that you've heard from me today. Um, During the process, one of my students um, comes to me and says, "Hey, did you know that sheep recognize the voice of their shepherd?" And I'm like, "Oh, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that, because it's going to piss me off. Because if that's true, it should be in the book, and it's not in the book." And so I do some research, and what I find out is that it's actually partially true. So the truth is, sheep recognize the voice of the person that feeds them, but sheep have short-term memory. So what does that mean? The reason that I want you to feed these black sheep values every single day is so that when you need them, when you call on them, they recognize your voice and they are there for you. That's why we do it every day. You can't come to me and go, "Hey man, I had a great day today. I fed four of my 5 black sheep." I'm going to say, "That's a shit day." You'd never come to me and say, I fed 4 of my 5 children today. It was a pretty good day, right? You'd never say that. You have to think of these things in the same way, knowing that the more that you feed them, the more they recognize your voice and the more they're going to run to you when you need whatever that is. For me, when I need creativity, when I need hope and impact and empathy and family and authenticity and all those things that are my black sheep, if I feed them every day, I know they'll be there when I call for them. Here's the challenge, and here's why I told you this is something you have to be aware of because you're conditioned to care for other people's sheep. If you are caring for someone else's sheep and you call out, guess who else shows up looking for food? It's all these other people's sheep because they recognize your voice
Mhm.
and they want food. And it's a distraction from you honoring the things that matter the most to you. So, in that light, you've got to make sure that you know what yours are. I have zero problem with you feeding other people's sheep. What I have a problem with is you
Mhm.
taking them into your care and pretending that they're yours. They're not yours. If you want to feed them with whatever you have left over after yours have had a chance to eat. My feeling on the subject is all of our sheep don't get fed the same amount every day. Okay. Some get a 7-course meal, some get table scraps. That's just the
Okay.
way life works. But that doesn't mean that they don't eat. They all get to eat something every day, and that should be your goal. So if you have your calendar out there and
Mhm.
you're writing all your values in, but there's not a good fit for one of your values, then you better come up with a plan to honor and feed that sheep, even though it doesn't actually have a nice little convenient place to stick it in your calendar for the day. There are some people that do daily meditation or they, read the Bible or they go for a walk or a hike or they decide they're going to hit the gym that day, whatever it is. Those are all different ways to feed a very specific sheep. And so if your calendar doesn't allow for all of them to be fed, you have to come up with a plan to make sure they get some sort of food that day, even if it's a 5-minute whatever, that is still enough to keep them engaged. And that's the goal.